So let's look at Rhode Island. So this is looking at RT values. So RT is the exponential rate of growth. RT greater than 1, your cases are going to go up. RT less than 1, cases are going to go down. What's been interesting me is one, right now Rhode Island has one of the worst RT values in the country, which is a change from how it usually goes. But two, that all of these are cyclical. If you animate them side by side, which is something that I hadn't been able to see in anyone's visualization, you'll see this first big gap here between in those first. This isn't a zero crossing. This is a RT equals 1 crossing on that little trend line on the bottom right. And what you'll see is that that big RT less than 1, that was the lockdown, the super severe lockdown that everyone does. And almost everyone has that kind of a lockdown. And the interesting question is what happens after that lockdown? So in Rhode Island's example, it goes back up. State eases lockdown restrictions, people get sick of social distancing, and off they go. And the second interesting mathy question is, when do you, can you actually predict when the next zero crossing is going to be? Or, in other words, if you look at this and do a Fourier transform, can you guess when the next lockdown restrictions for your state are going to be? It's interesting for me, in kind of generally as a teacher, if I'm trying to plan, it's another little bit of data that can guess when you're going to have in person and when you're not. But it's also just kind of funny as a predictive way. Is this one, the bet is that these numbers actually have nothing to do with the sigmoidal curves of a state. It has to do with this unstable oscillating system that we're in right now. Numbers go up, state enacts lockdown. Numbers go down, state releases lockdown, numbers go back up. That people behave in a goofy way on aggregate, and it's this weird lockdown kind of imposed on like a background sigmoidal curve, but that we're nowhere near saturated. We don't have large-scale immunity in almost any community in the country. So it really is just a function of human intervention. When do you have lockdowns? When do you ease the lockdowns? When do you go back to the next one? And I think the when do you ease the lockdowns is another interesting question. So Rhode Island, it probably changes state by state. I think Rhode Island, I think you can ease them based on absolute numbers, and you can ease them based on a rate of change being consistently negative over 2 weeks. But that idea that people won't retain good habits, that you'll always have this oscillation like you see in every single state in the country, that feels really powerful.